Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you've had a great weekend and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to take on the week. Okay, it's the season. We're inching towards the second anniversary of the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. And so we've been talking politics all that while, and we'll continue. In fact, today we'll be looking at Nigeria's democracy, Nigeria's democratic journey, better put, Nigeria's democratic journey and its challenges. And it's interesting we have that subject matter because my guest is actually Abdul Oro. Yes. Good morning, Abdul. It's great to have you again. Honorable, in fact, to put it properly, Honorable Abdul Shuaib Oro. Yes. To the whole, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Great to be with you.
Thank you very much.
Abdul Oro, he's a lawyer, civil rights activist, politician, and administrator. He was a former member.
The House of Representatives?
Yes, but it should be on you, not on me.
The fifth assembly.
Yes, as I was reading out all those things, they went and put it on me, when it should be you that it's on.
from 2023,
exactly.
2003 to 2007.
Exactly. And you served also as the Edo State Commissioner.
Yes.
And you went to House of Representatives, as you just said. That was the Fifth Assembly?
Fifth Assembly.
Fifth Assembly. Maybe let us start from... this is a bit weird. Let me start from, of all the things I said you're a lawyer, activist, human rights, activist and all of that. Your stint in politics at the sub-regional level, you served in the administration of then-Governor Adams Oshiomhole.
Yes,
it didn't end very well, did it? Because you had to part ways.
Yes.
And it was for a disagreement on fundamental issues.
In politics, disagreements, conflicts are inevitable. Disagreements are, part of democracy. The way you resolve them, the processes of resolving them, and the outcome is what matters.
Indeed.
So in democracy is a problem-solving mechanism.
Okay.
That is why you see we have parliaments to resolve certain issues, to check the executive, and the judiciary to check everybody. And, so conflicts are part of democracy, and democracy, you resolve them. Yeah, at a point, we disagreed about choice of governor of Edo State, successor. But later, after the primaries, we agreed, and we moved on. We elected somebody. And
so there is relationships.
Yeah, we have elected him. After that, we elected him as senator of Edo State.
Indeed,
we relate very well.
And you still remain a progressive.
Yeah, we remain.
As we're talking about Nigeria's democracy, a lot has been happening especially nowadays. People refer to gales of defections. The threat of a one-party state, which has been debunked by knowledgeable, including the president. So there's so much going on. Now, when we talk about Nigeria's democratic journey, and especially its there's even one that, there's one godfatherism. Is it a peculiarly Nigerian thing?
Okay, let me start by saying, you use the word democracy as a journey.
Yes.
A journey of...
Yes.
Now we have been on that journey. For the president, on May 29 will be his second anniversary.
That's right. And
then it will also be the 26th anniversary of the restoration of the democratic process, the democratic rule in Nigeria, after a major, almost 10 years or over 10 years of battling military dictatorship. And we started at a point when virtually everything was destroyed. There was no parliament during military rule. The press was muzzled. There was no free speech. It was a totalitarian environment, a dictatorship. The judiciary was muzzled, was virtually emasculated. So even though there was a judiciary, it exists only in name. It's outside the... in fact, you remember how those abstract clauses are made in the possible for you, even the judiciary to question the decision, the actions and inactions, and all kinds of violations of human rights by the military. So now we have to start afresh to build. The Obasanjo
From
administration,
scratch, you know.
that took over at the national level in '99 was more or less an extension of the military role. If you look at all his key appointees, from the Danjuma as defense minister, Jamin Bewon, and all of them, the chief of staff, national security advisor, all of them were. It was like a mini supreme military council of 1976-79, you know. But it was a difficult moment too for him, because he inherited a lot of problems in the Niger Delta problems after the execution of Ken Saro-Wiwa by the military, by General Abacha, and there was bedlam in the Niger Delta, you know, and the military handed over all these problems to him, and the treasury had been completely they stole everything, you know, and the situation was difficult. But Obasanjo reacted. You know, he has somebody who can wear two hats. He can smile nicely at you, then he can also show that he's a military man.
Yes.
And then he was able to fight on both sides. You know, but then after, even though he's claimed to be father of modern Nigeria, he started destroying that concept of modern Nigeria, try to reinstate the culture of militarism, military control of institutions, or brigandage, you know, removing governors, doing this, doing that, and all that. So, but at a point, because it is a democratic process, the system was generally checking him. He met a very stubborn National Assembly in '99. This National Assembly created the NDDC. Obasanjo refused to sign the NDDC decree. Sorry, not decree. Sorry for the word.
Law.
The law, the act. And then the whole National Assembly came together, both Senate and the House, and passed it without, you know, they overrode his,
yes, they overrode
his veto.
Yes, they vetoed him.
Yeah. So now we have NDDC. It's been there. It has helped to check some problems.
And this could not
to
have
reduce
happened.
crisis in the Niger Delta.
This could not have happened
if we didn't have democracy.
If we didn't have democracy.
The military tried it became an avenue for siphoning resources. But because everybody, collective people were involved, I'm not saying they have done marvelously well, I don't know, as they should, but it helped to draw attention to the developmental challenges, the ecological challenges, the problems, the complaints of the people were basically to start addressing those problems of the people and all that. And then that is democracy. And then I remember when we were elected 2003, the first motion we took was the problems in Plateau State, the crisis in between farmers and I was appointed as a member of the Fulani headsmen. I was appointed as a member of the committee, ad hoc committee, to investigate what was happening. We went there. It was an eye opener for me. Jos that we knew was completely destroyed. I mean, most of these banks had closed, restaurants had closed, market had been burnt. You know, the rural areas up to Pakistan and everywhere we went to, the villages were deserted, farms were destroyed, the houses were destroyed, and that was all that happened. Many people, it didn't spread over to the national level at that time.
Yes.
And then, of course, the Boko Haram started evolving from the northeast,
yes,
spreading across the northern states, you know.
None of which was observed. None of these things was
observed
during the military.
They were not observed during the military. They were bottled up. You know, we don't know who was, I mean, clearly, you cannot rule out international linkages. But all these difficult challenges were there, undermining the democratic process. The social, there was a lot of social dysfunction. The insurgency. Shortly before the insurgency was now being brought under control, we had a banditry in the northwest. And then from banditry in the northwest, IPOB became an issue in the southeast, getting waxes stronger, you know. And then we also have pockets of that in the southwest, you know, Yoruba Nation and all. Is that what they call it?
That's right.
And various
the agitation for it.
Yes, centrifugal agitations all over the country. And all this had to be dealt with, either politically, usually addressing them through the peaceful process, or responding with military muzzle, apply the kinetic measures. So all this had been troubling, undermining the democratic process, the democratic journey. Many people don't see all this. But of course, there is also the overwhelming problem of corruption.
In the country?
Yes, of course. Under Ambassador administration, the EFCC was created, ICPC was created. These were supposed to be other out of the police and all that, institutions of accountability to deal with all these problems, to address all these problems. But we're at a point, it's like we have taken a step forward, again, another step backward. Yeah. Look at a recent development.
What you just said, it looks like we've taken a step forward, hopefully not two backwards. If it's one forward and then one backward.
Yes.
But there are those who are even saying that, I'm afraid that we appear to have taken one step forward, meaning we arrived, with our democracy. But then a lot of other things that had never been seen, perhaps worse than...
I'm popping up.
Yes.
Okay, when I say taking one step backward and one step forward, it is recently a federal accountant general was convicted of stealing about 85 billion. He refunded a few things and got, and some properties were also refunded.
Yes.
Were also seized. The next day he was Toban in Kano. And then in Zamfara state, I think, a bandit was Toban.
So
what are you talking about?
Are you putting all of this at the doorstep of democracy? That if not for democracy,
yes,
none of this.
No. I wouldn't put it at the doorstep of democracy. I am saying that the institutions of the rule of law, the way we are unable to effectively enthrone the rule of law, engender the process of dispensing justice swiftly and according to law, and based on, in some other societies, those two individuals that I mentioned, maybe in China, they would have been executed. And those who collaborated with them, who participated in this process of edifying them, we also probably would have they would have faced charges of conspiracy, if not during the process of committing the crime, but after the fact.
The rule of law, you see, it's like you can't have democracy without rule of law.
It's at the heart of it.
It is at the heart of it.
Because the judiciary, the law enforcement, the law of following the rules and regulations in administration, in public administration, even in private life, even collecting garbage, paying your taxes and all that, they are part of the rule of law.
That's right.
So if the legal framework is weak and institutions are weak, for instance, you create, a Lagos State Revenue Agency, is unable to act, is unable to collect revenue, is corrupt, then you will not see development in Lagos. That means the rule of law is weak. It's not enforced. But if it's working the other way and you see evidence of its effectiveness, it will also be obvious that
this is obvious. This is when you see developing.
Then you will see it. When you see it, you know it.
Yes,
and then it's many Nigerians they attack the country as if we are an isolated island in the Pacific without population. but we have a followership. We have you have the leadership. We have the followership. I believe every totalitarian system can be defeated. Every corrupt system can be challenged and defeated. Everything that is wrong can be challenged and made to be right, can be righted. Or there should be consequences. People should be punished.
But when you see this,
that again boils down to the rule of law.
Rule of law, because people have forever been complaining about immunity in our political system.
I think it's wrong.
To be complaining.
There should be no immunity. Even the president should not have immunity.
I said
even
impunity.
The governor should not have impunity.
Impunity.
Yes, there is a reign of impunity.
This is it. And people have been complaining about that. And I wanted to ask, is this part of who we are? That is to say, they say democracy, depending on where you are at, it will take the form that it will take. You can't come and compare America or Singaporean democracy with Nigerian democracy. What do you say to that whole idea?
Well, yes, it's true. To some extent, that is true. But the ideas of democracy, they are not even alien to us as Nigerians or as Africans. Hearing the other side in the disputes. even the concept of voting to elect, it's not alien to us.
One man, one vote.
Yes, it's not alien to us. You know, be fair and just in judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair to us. Our concept does not allow corruption. In fact, you are supposed to be ostracized or severely punished. You understand what I'm saying?
You know,
so some of these democratic
as
ideas
a core
are
value,
not alien to
even
us.
culturally.
Core value, yes, they are not alien to us. So I believe that Americans, they have their system. Okay, look at Africa. Nigeria is probably the only major federation in Africa. I think they are trying it in Ethiopia and maybe other places will eventually do it. It didn't work in Sierra Leone. In Cameroon. And East Africa, Tanzania, they created 2 states, fused them together into one, and it's working perfectly. But we are the only major federation in Nigeria, in Africa.
How well is it working?
Because it's working.
Okay.
It's working, but it's not working in a way. There are distortions. There are major structural distortions that needs to be corrected with time. You know, and for instance, every state, the president does not tell a state where to build a road, or how to build housing, or how to collect their own local taxes, or manage their system. Now, people are agitating for state police, for instance, that the state has a judiciary. Now, there is an amendment to the Constitution that allows states to have their own prison correctional services. So why don't you have a state police that will be responsible to the people of the state? That you will recruit the people from the state, they know their communities, they are trained like the Nigerian police at the federal level, and then they will know where the criminals are in their communities, and then you deploy them to police their own communities.
You see, all these kind of ideas are people, when I say our people, especially those in power, are suspicious of those ideas.
Naturally, you expect people who are in privileged positions to be suspicious of change. They think the change will harm their privileges. But it's going to strengthen the system. It will make the system work more efficiently and effectively.
I don't know. You remember there were times when President Buhari, he had also observed in public conversations that, well, there are certain things I might, in my former life, I might have handled them in this particular way, but my advisors, are advising me very keenly that, no, there is rule of law and there's a democratic process. So you can't expect the Buhari that we all knew that whole thing about with immediate effect. No, it doesn't work like that. The Lord will take its time. So he was like saying that, what do you want me to do? I'm trying to play ball the way it should be paid.
That is unfortunately an apology. He was not supposed to, nobody forced him to be president. If you are elected president, you take decision as president. Nobody says you should not. You should follow. You have sworn an oath to the Constitution, fidelity to the Constitution, to respect the rule of law and the law. Then apply the law. Don't tell me
that you are being...
before I was a military man. Yes, you were a military man.
I could have done it in a particular way.
But you knew that you were going to operate the Constitution.
Exactly.
You were elected. Your advisors were not elected. Your ministers were not elected. You knew you have a parliament. And the law says you should have a free press. You should have, there should be liberty. And then you should enforce the law as president. And then deal with the problems that are there. Manage the society in such a way that there will be order.
But he chose his own
stability.
Way. He chose his own way. And he's part of the Nigerian system. Well...
that is my position.
Okay.
He was not effective. He was aloof. And he wasn't... At the point, his wife cried out to say, look,
I remember.
A cabal has hijacked the presidency.
Let me take
a public record.
Somebody has called in. Good morning, Mr. Georgia, and thank you for holding on. Go ahead now, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
And good morning to Mr. Oro.
Good morning, my brother.
Uncle Yori, the discussion this morning is about Nigeria's democratic journey and its challenges.
That's right.
Don't forget that of democracy in Nigeria. This is the first time we're having a true advocate of democracy on the throne. He fought for it. He went to jail for it. He was persecuted for it until he eventually came into the scene now. Now, Uncle Yori, I see a president that will be able to change the perception about democracy in our country. And he seems to have started doing it. What I mean is this. He has, for example, proved that religion has no place in democracy. You saw how he emerged. People were shouting Muslim, Muslim. And at the end of the day, he was able to convince people and he won the election. If you watch now, those who were shouting religion, religion at that time, everybody is now accepting him because of his style of governance. So he has been able to address that one, that your religion has no role in your governance pattern. He has also gone to prove that governance is about focusing on the people's needs. And you can see that even the policies he is executing doesn't have ethnic coloration. It doesn't say, this place, I don't have friends there, so let me starve them of funds. Or these people did not vote for me, let me give them less than what I would give others. He has proven that governance is above ethnicity and all those calculations.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, Mr. George. But it needs to be said that for a while there was criticism from the polity that President Tinubu's appointments were lopsided. He seemed to be favoring a certain section. But then, just last week, Senator Aline Dume, came on now and said that, aha, now I'm very, very pleased with a set of appointments that have been made by the president, and this shows that, maybe we misunderstood him, he's a man of balance. So these are part of the challenges of democracy, aren't they? Yeah,
there is no way you can satisfy everybody in democracy. But what you can aspire to do, or you can strive to do, is to satisfy the society generally. Take the right decisions, enforce them rigorously, use the right people that you think are capable of helping you to execute your mandate, your what you want to do, and then you deploy them.
Doing your best to spread it.
That was one of the criticism of the Buhari administration too.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
That it was, even the Jonathan was criticized for all that too. But people will still criticize. But people will stop criticizing if they see the results. If you deploy somebody to administer taxation, the tax administration, and they see result, or custom, and they see result, and then you make somebody as Attorney General, and they see result, nobody would think about where you come from. Yeah. Nobody would think of that. But then we have also we all know that we are a very diverse society, and in managing diversity, you cannot ignore certain sentiments. That is why the principle of federal character was even introduced in our constitution, not just at the federal level alone, but the state and at the local government level.
That's right.
Yeah. So in making all these appointments, one also has to be conscious of the need to manage diversity.
So,
for instance, if they talk about Muslim, and you think there's nothing wrong with it, you are going to apply it to achieve your objective, go ahead and do it. But are you going to appoint 2 Yoruba Muslims? Or you are going to appoint 2 Borno Muslims? Or you are going to appoint 2 Edo Christians? Or 2 Akwa Ibom Christians?
So there must be discernment.
Yeah, you have to look at it. You look at it and say, no, there are geographical factors. There are other factors, cultural factors, that must be looked into, that must also be considered, so that you can carry majority of the people along. Because, and then once you are now there, you are taking these decisions and you are executing your mandate, your program, and then they are seeing the result, and they think the result are touching the lives of the people, or there is hope.
Then you're good.
If you can do all of that, doing, go ahead and rigidly enforce and implement your program.
We got another call. Elder David in Alimosho, I believe. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Sir Yori.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
May God bless Nigeria. We have thanked God. The journey so far, we thank God so much. The formation of APC, if I may explain to you, is a formation of all Nigerians, ACN, that control the Southwest with their vote. Then APP, which is later ANPP. All of them agree. Then CPC, with only one state in Nasarawa, 12 million of Buhari, they were all there. Then PDP, the major PDP, the governors and others, including me that I'm talking to you, we were all there. They're a part of ABGA. Let me tell you one thing. That formation, it is God's design that they can redeem Nigerians from bad governance. Yes, we thank God.
Okay, I hear you, Elder David. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But, Elder David, we're looking at the democratic journey, Nigeria's democratic journey, and its challenges. Do you have any idea about the challenges?
And I can give you the
Did you hear me, Elder?
I think the point he was trying to make is that the political party processes are evolving. That is, people are still gravitated towards areas where they think they can get either personal benefits or they can get benefits for their communities.
Okay.
So that the process is still evolving. Don't forget that the military did not allow the political parties to evolve. If the parties of the 60s were still alive today, everybody will know exactly where your father was, where your mother was, where you are likely to go. Or if you are going to disagree with the path they followed, you go your own path. You know, actually, the point is trying to make. The important thing is that when this process starts, when it's evolving, it must follow the democratic process. There should be internal democracies in the party, not authoritarian processes. You know, the parties must have that harmony. They should respect their constitution. They should respect their manifesto.
How well do you think we're doing in that regard?
Yeah, it's the process. That I'm saying, the process is evolving.
It's evolving.
It's evolving.
It's getting better.
In 1999, if not because the military had decided that they were going to, Obasanjo was going to succeed them, the APP was the strongest party in the country then. Yeah. I remember when I went home to contest in 2003 in Edo State, out of the 11 councillors, 6 were APP. But at the time I was now going to contest, the APP didn't exist anymore. It had fused into PDP. You know? So that is how it's a process that is evolving. During the last presidential election, how many parties contested? 17 political parties. Many people hear of Labour Party, they hear of PDP and APC. But there were other parties. 17 contested the presidential election. You know? And that is a fact.
So what?
About 8 parties were represented at the National Assembly. I'm not saying state assembly. About 8 political parties won seats into either the Senate or the House of Representatives. So it's a process that is evolving.
It's an exercise. It's an evolving process, and it's coming along. Seems to be what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not worried at all.
That's a good note.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to continue this conversation with Honorable Abdul Oro. Stay with us, please.
Remodel our economy to bring our growth and develop the GDP, achieve the GDP much better than we have today.
By May 29, it would be exactly 2 years President Bola Tinubu was sworn in as the 16th President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with a mandate of renewed hope. It is time to be in spotlight on the scorecard on this slogan in health, interior ministry, aviation, finance, foreign affairs, trade and investment, and some more. Join us on Beyond the Headlines with Nifemi Oguntoye as we engage federal ministers and executive governors across the country to share the challenges and successes. Tune in to TVC News at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. from the 19th of May to the 30th of May 2025.
TVC News, first with
Okay, welcome back, and our guest is a friend of the House. He's a lawyer, a civil rights activist, a politician, a veteran journalist. He's all those things and a bit more. He is also a politician in the sense that, well, I don't know if nowadays, because now you seem to be facing your law practice, but I can say that you are a former Edo State Commissioner, and you've also served in the House of Representatives.
Yes, I am still very much in politics.
You're still very much. As a progressive?
As a progressive.
As a progressive.
Yes, I am a progressive. Now, looking at all that, talking about the problems, starting from where you stop.
Yes.
You see, definitely, it's not the absence of problems that matters. That matters. It's the way you resolve those problems. Is it through democratically? Is it through other measures? I believe in the rule of law that should take its course, enforce it as much as possible. As we are fighting corruption, the other day you saw what happened. If the Mayfele thing, you have seen it.
Yes. Yes.
You've seen all this coming out, and they are being punished. Well, all those are happening across the country.
The matter is in court.
Yeah.
In the case of Emefiele.
Yes.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. It's gone through the democratic process. It was not detained and flogged and tortured, for all this to happen.
And these are all embodiments of democracy.
That is the rule of law too. Then look at the elections that we have had. We have had challenges. What do we need to do? Continue to improve on the process, the electoral process. During the Jonathan election, he considered defeat and handed over to an opposition, which is what that gentleman David was trying to say. The coalition that produced President Buhari, and he discovered that he had lost the election, and he quietly handed over, and there was peace. We had a peaceful transition. And Buhari has done his own. There have been 2 elections. It was challenged. You know what I'm saying? Then Tinubu came in. He's going to be challenged in 2007.
Of course. Of course.
And then whichever outcome we have will be the democratic process. It will continue to enrich the democratic process.
Let the democratic process hold sway.
Absolutely.
Okay. Kolawole Inojo, good morning and thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
I'm your honorable member. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Honorable Abdul.
Progressive.
Okay.
I'm a progressive. Let me give you the success the government has recorded.
Well, yeah, we're looking at the journey and any challenges in there. That's what we're looking at.
We are moving forward.
Okay.
Number 1, yes, there should be challenges.
Okay.
But we are going to overcome it. 2 years is too little for us to make meaningful and successful program.
Well, there are some successes.
Yes. Look at CBN. See what CBN is doing. Look at the oil subsidy. Naira floating, bringing in more money to the state.
These are successes.
More money to the federal government.
In just 2 years.
The government is not going money to pay salary. We are not printing money to pay salary.
These are successes.
Glory be to God for Nigeria. Yes. We have been able to pay IMF COVID loans. Yes.
All right.
See the Coastal Road. See Sokoto Road. That project has been on for more than 26 years. But that Green Sokoto Road. The federal government under President Tinubu has brought it back. Go there. Do investigation journalists. Go to that road, Badagry Road. They have done Badagry Junction, Agala Junction to Akon, all the people, all the companies there, they are
all right.
for the
I want to thank you very much for calling in, sir. Thank you very much for calling in, because what you've just done is that you've aligned with Honorable Oro in saying that, look, it's a journey, and there will be challenges, but we definitely are making progress.
Yes, let me agree with him that it's almost like Tinubu has been there for like 10 years.
In just 2 years.
In just 2 years.
In fact, he didn't, when he was saying that 2 years is too short to make appreciable progress, and then he proceeded to contradict that position.
What he has done is clear. I had not traveled on the Abuja road for some time because of fear of insecurity and all that. Then the other day I had no choice because we were invited to Edo to do security meeting after the Uromi killing. And I said, okay, I can't fly to Benin and then travel again back to Edo North. So let me just go by road. From Abuja to, the construction was going on at every point on the way. The Bajana Junction, there was overhead bridge that is already taken, it's almost been completed. Then up to Lokoja. And then from Lokoja to Obela, it's not yet dualized, but all the potholes have been filled. That is, some steps have been taken, but we still expect that the work will just continue. And then the two major cement companies there, Dangote and Boa Cement, they should also chip in. They should also help because all their trucks are packed and various trailers and all that. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes, because of some people's mindset, they will not see progress even when it's passing through them. But with the problems we have majorly, some of those infrastructure measured, the coastal road, because of the coastal road, the whole of South-South is rolling one way, politically. And it's going to touch the Southeast, because it is a reality. Even initially, I was a little bit apprehensive.
Okay.
But from what I have seen, or what I've heard, the other day I was talking to the governor of Cross River State, when we met in Asaba. He said work is going on, that he is satisfied.
So it goes back to what you said, that a lot depends on the person.
The perception.
The perception and the persons.
Yeah. Then people talk about food scarcity.
Yes.
Why won't food be scarce when bandits are driving farmers away from farms? You see the point I'm making? That is the problem. So as we are fighting the bandits, we are working to put food back on the table. We are working to encourage agriculture. So we must not relent. The fight must go on. It was, if it means employing more military men, if it means raising the number of fighting troops from where we are now to about 1 million, if we will take the battle to them. If it means crossing our borders to the Sahel, Nigeria, we have been to Sierra Leone, we've been to Liberia. We didn't even have this capacity then that we have now. So Nigeria, let it be said that when Nigeria was challenged, at this moment in our history, this is how we responded. We should be very brutal in our response. I don't believe you can, well, I believe in rehabilitating people, but when you see, when you are confronted with a major challenge that you have now, then you respond, you double it. Your response should be twice as harsh as their challenge that they throw at you. They get it on the double. Which is the... So I believe some of the infrastructural projects that are in place, some of the reforms that are in place, creating regional development to help states in those regions working together to develop, instead of working across purposes, to develop major projects in their area, connecting themselves, will help to strengthen Nigeria unity, will promote integration. The fiscal policies are working. Everybody knows they are working. Even though yesterday it was now 1.5, last week it was 1.6 naira to a dollar. Exchange rate. So we continue to work on them, and we don't need to make U-turn now. No. When there are problems, we can make adjustments, create some relief.
Okay.
Ensure that, but because even the state governors, they are getting more money than whoever. Many of them are. In fact, they shouldn't have any problem now developing rural areas.
Okay.
They should have enough problems to do what they want to do.
Pat.
They have enough resources to do what they want to do.
Pat has been holding on. Pat in Port Harcourt. Good morning,
morning,
Pat in Port Harcourt.
Okay. Sorry, I'm yet to know the, will I say, definition of function of a journalist. Because one of your sister stations, whenever they talk about the ruling party, whenever they invite somebody to their studio or whatever to come and speak on a matter, and maybe that guest opinion is that the ruling party is doing well in so area. But this your sister station, they will do it in a way that, don't say that. They'll be putting words in your mouth so that you'll be saying bad about other people. Why are they like that? I'm bitter about all this. Journalism is not supposed to be like that. They invited you. They shall allow you to speak your mind.
I will speak on it.
And once you speak your mind, you'll be angry.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pat, for calling in.
Yeah, I'm a journalist. I was trained as a journalist.
Yes.
That is my first calling. In a way, two things. Facts are sacred. Facts are facts. The truth. We cannot. In journalism, opinion is free, but facts are sacred.
Yeah, but what Pat is saying is that there seem to be some broadcasters,
yes, who will never allow,
who would never see any good.
That is not journalism
in the government
that
of the day.
That is propaganda,
because it isn't who they would have preferred.
That is not journalism, or you can call them para-journalists. That is not journalism. You are that anchor person,
yes,
or the interviewer, supposed to give the person the opportunity to express himself. Freedom of expression is in our constitution. Let the person express himself. If he's moving towards a direction towards indecency or libel or whatever,
or inaccuracy,
you correct them. You draw him back to what the important issue.
So when
if you say somebody is doing well, and he says the road to Bonny from Ogoni to Bonny is being constructed, and he said no, who needs that road? Blah, blah, blah. You said no, the people of Bonny needs that road, because for the first time the people in Bonny will be able to drive from Ogoni to Bonny or Andoni. You correct the person,
but
that is progress.
Yes, but what Pat is saying is that there seems to be these harsh critics,
mischievous,
who are probably maybe misusing their right to freedom of speech, and it's like they use it to distort
information.
Yeah,
I mean, you cannot. They happen even in Western society. Such institutions happen. Even the BBC. The other day, I was watching the Pope's the first report about the Pope's appointment. Then they were CNN was the camera was focused on his church in Chicago, and the church, if you see the place, was like a ghost town. It was deserted. Immediately they noticed what they were doing, they shifted the camera, they removed it quickly to the university he attended, where people were rejoicing. That is the way it is.
So
we have people, we have mischief makers who will do their own. But the truth will stand out. This truth will always prevail.
Okay, and I hope that speaks to Pat's observation of how some people conduct their own conversations.
Absolutely.
Mazi Okorafo, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning again. Honestly, the journey so far is sweet. So I don't know whether I'll say that I'm putting a sweetening inside the journey. Because every day, every weekend, we're hearing one stories. We have seen that the weekend, Makinja and Mba and the restaurant. And the thing is making it. And I will start asking them, what is the fate of PDP? What is the fate of opposition party? What is the fate of other parties? You see, confusion is everywhere. Now, I will advise the opposition parties, not only one, even the coalition they want to form. Even the people going to form the new coalition, what are their agendas? What is their roadmap? What do they have in store for Nigeria? It is not this man. Who is going to be the president? Who is going to be the vice? Who will be this? That is the problem. So when I look at the coalition forces now, as far as a kind, we still have a long way to go in terms of opposition party, because the way they are moving, everybody is talking about power, money, myself. I must be president. It is not possible.
Okay, Mazi, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know, as I said earlier, the political parties are evolving. Some people are in politics because they believe they have divine rights to rule. That if not me, who? They have that divine right to rule. Some are there because of what they can grab from the system, you know. And then some are not interested in the feelings of their people. They don't care about their people. I was reading something that Atiku was making reference to. Say he went to Katsina to see Buhari in Daura. He was driving from Katsina Airport to Daura. Along the way, he saw thousands of Almajiris, beggars, you know, and some in their 40s, in their 30s, in their 20s. And he has been in politics
all this
for a period almost as long as that, right from the Second Republic. How did he change the own? What did he do to change what the narrative, what is just described?
Abdul,
he was vice president for 8 years,
and he didn't impact that situation.
Rather than working with his principal, the president, within 2 years after he was made vice president, he started fighting to be president, and then they disagreed in a way. Initially, Obasanjo wanted, or it looks like he wanted Atiku to run the economy. So all the Gates Village, the stadium, there's so many things that privatization and all that. He was in charge, you know.
Until they fell out.
Then he now started growing. His personal ambitions started taking over his, the need to serve the people. You know, so these are the kind of people you see, you know, creating. It's not confusion. What they call confusion, I don't call it confusion. Let the process take its course.
This is
let people campaign. Let people come out. Then the voters will decide at the end of the day the way the country will go.
What is your view on? I wanted to ask you this whole hullabaloo over the threat of a single party, you know, a one-party state, and everybody, the so-called gale of defections to the ruling APC. But as I was just finishing that sentence, I've been told that. Tell me who's on the line again. Pastor Ola from Abuja. Okay, Pastor Ola, good morning to you, sir. Okay, we're going to squeeze it in. Go ahead, sir. Pastor Ola, go ahead, sir. No, okay, so sorry, forget that. You know,
talking about defections.
Yes,
let me even give you one example. Do you think the governor of Delta State would not have been re-elected if he had remained in PDP? He would have been re-elected. He probably would have been re-elected. Let me use that word. But he saw the future.
Okay.
He believed that pulling together to work with, to execute the programs that they are seeing on ground now is the best thing for Delta State. I was listening to Soludo's speech on TV this morning. He was saying the same thing. He now told the president, look, these are some of the things we need, the gas thing and the Onitsha port and the road connecting Anambra to Kogi State that will shorten the distance between Anambra and Abuja by almost reducing it to about 2 or 3 hours. And the president said, yes, you have said that, they have very legitimate demand, and they will be done. He will do them. And the rail line system, he said they will be done. You know, when you see a president that is listening to you, that is ready to do what you ask for, why would you want to antagonize him? You know, so he was now talking about the Anambra partnership with the ruling party, the Tinubu partnership. You see the point I'm taking. So I agree that if people don't, many people decamp. Okay, look at the guy that former senator from Adamawa State, who said he left PDP, APC because of Christian, Muslim tickets. You know what I'm saying? Now he left for religious reason. You know, for me, that is parochial.
Okay.
And then Rufai, even his own son said, "I'm not going with you," because people knew that he was lobbying to be Minister of Energy. He wanted to be. He was already. His name was
Rufai himself.
His name was appointed, but the security people said. I heard the security report about him were very bad. That he was even. That probably his governance did not deal with. When he was in government, there was more violence in Southern Kaduna than whatever, and that he was parochial, and that he tolerated banditry and all that. Or I don't know whether he worked with them or whatever. That fact has not come out yet. And there is a lot of issues about corruption around him in Kaduna State. You know what I'm saying? So how does it become relevant? He has to jump ship. You know, the Tinubu that was so good yesterday, he had to jump ship. If he was a minister, would he jump ship? No, he wouldn't. So people, they have their reasons for the campaign. You know, and I believe, let those who are coming together come together. Then the ruling party should also expand its wing by the same token. Reach out to those you think can work with you. But then open the door for those who are willing to walk on the road. That is how it should be.
This is exactly what the secretary of the ruling party was saying when we interviewed him. So what do you want me to do? We're going to continue to, you know.
Somebody wants to join your party, we say go away.
Exactly.
Go away.
It's not going to
open the door.
You know,
but you keep your eye open, because it's somebody who is crying sees. Somebody who is smiling is also seeing more than the smiles. You know what I'm saying? Then you also ask yourself, this person, what is his motive for coming? You can't drive him away. But if he has baggages, ensure that he doesn't bring those baggages into your party. And then you guys, when you engineer a process that will make it impossible for you to be in certain positions where it shouldn't be.
You won't believe that we've almost run out of time. But briefly, all these things you've been talking about, you've written a book.
Yes, and, yes. I have captured the book. I wrote a book. It's called Demonstration of Craze.
Which reminds you of Fela Nicola Pokuti.
Teacher, don't teach me nonsense.
Teacher, don't teach me nonsense.
Yes.
You know.
And then it captured my journey as a journalist, a little bit of the history of my community, but my history. That born in 1960, you know, growing with Nigeria, as it were. And then as a journalist, as a human rights activist, then I became a politician, elected to the National Assembly, and then I served in Edo State as commissioner. All that, I tried to draw in experience as an insider, as a participant in many of the key things that happened, right from, I became a journalist around 83, you know, and everything that has happened under military rule, under civilian administration, everything. I've been a witness, an adult.
So it's
your account. I pulled that one out.
I've walked through all of this.
Exactly. May 29 at the Yaradua Center in Abuja. It will be presented to the public.
Okay. No more on that.
I hope Ashwaji will come because I've invited him.
You've spoken to Ashwaji?
I've gone to the office. I have a letter acknowledging my invitation. So he must come.
Okay then.
We're comrades.
Yes. We're going to have to leave it there. But I want to thank you very much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure talking with you after all this time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so that's our program. We're going to have to leave it there for now. But do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.